All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're tracing the extraordinary evolution of a man who honestly defies any kind of simple categorization, Sonam Wangchuk. He's an engineer, an educator, a climate innovator, and lately, the undeniable, unignorable voice for the entire Himalayan region. What's truly fascinating about his journey is how it scales. He literally started out by just trying to fix the failing schools in his own backyard, and he ended up mobilizing a massive nation to look at the fragile ecology of the planet's highest plateau.
Now, Wangchuk actually has to confront a pretty massive piece of pop culture baggage right out of the gate. A lot of folks know him as the inspiration for Aamir Khan's beloved character Phunsukh Wangdu in the massive blockbuster 3 Idiots. But, as you can see, Wangchuk actively distances his real, tangible, and often incredibly grueling climate work from that fictional Bollywood persona. As he puts it, he works in real life. And real life in the high-altitude desert of Ladakh requires solutions that go way beyond a neat and tidy movie ending.
To truly grasp the escalating impact of his work, we're going to follow a 4-part journey. 1. The educational revolution. 2. Engineering the cold desert. 3. The wallet power campaign. And 4. The battle for Ladakh.
Let's start with Part 1, the educational revolution.
So, born in 1966 in a tiny Ladakhi village, Wangchuk was actually homeschooled until he was 9. When he finally entered the formal system, he struggled immensely. But he quickly realized exactly why. Local Ladakhi students were failing at absolutely catastrophic rates. We're talking barely a 5% pass rate. The fatal flaw? Classes and textbooks were entirely in Urdu and English. They completely ignored the students' native language and cultural context. So to fix this, a 22-year-old Wangchuk, teaming up with some peers, co-founded SECMOL, the Students' Educational and Cultural Movement of Ladakh. Their goal was massive, completely overhaul the system by prioritizing hands-on, practical skills over just mindless rote memorization.
What they built wasn't your standard concrete schoolhouse. This SECML campus is built using traditional rammed earth techniques and relies completely on passive solar heating. In a region where winter temperatures absolutely plummet below freezing, this campus stays warm just using the sun's energy. No fossil fuels needed whatsoever. And it was right from this incredible building that Wangchuk launched Operation New Hope in 1994, partnering with the government to rewrite textbooks, localize the curriculum, and eventually train over 700 teachers.
The results were, frankly, staggering. Student pass rates soared from that dismal 5% to over 75%. This grassroots educational revolution was so undeniably effective that it caught the attention of global leaders. In 1998, the Dalai Lama himself made a special contribution of 1.5 million rupees to support SECML's ongoing work. So Wangchuk had successfully engineered a new future for Ladakhi youth, but it turns out his engineering ambitions were really just getting started.
Moving right along to Part 2, Engineering the Cold Desert.
Shifting his focus from building mines to engineering physical solutions, Wangchuk tackled the most fundamental resource for survival out there: water. Ladakh is a cold desert, right? In the winter, glacial water just flows away unused. But in the spring, exactly when farmers desperately need it for their crops, the streams are totally dry. So, in 2013, he invented the ice stupa. It relies entirely on pure physics. They pipe water down from higher altitudes, and because of the height difference, gravity creates pressure that causes the water to gush out like a geyser. In the freezing winter air, this spray instantly freezes, building up into a massive cone-shaped artificial glacier. That conical shape is key because it minimizes the surface area exposed to the sun, meaning it melts really slowly, giving farmers a steady drip of water right when they need it in the spring. No electricity, no pumps, just gravity and thermodynamics.
The scale of this low-tech innovation is just incredible. His very first 2-story prototype could store roughly 150,000 liters of water. This wasn't just some local fix. This was a globally relevant adaptation to climate change. In fact, it was so successful that by 2016, Swiss authorities actually invited him to build ice stupas in the Swiss Alps to help preserve their own melting glaciers.
But he didn't stop at water. Drawing on the exact same passive solar principles he used for the SECML campus, Wangchuk turned his attention to heating in 2021. He developed highly portable solar-powered tents. These things are engineered to trap the sun's heat energy during the day, acting like a giant thermal battery, which then keeps the occupants warm through those brutal high-altitude Himalayan nights. And it's completely carbon neutral. No need for those polluting kerosene heaters at all.
To put the importance of this into perspective, he was inspired to create this solution after learning that around 50,000 Indian Army soldiers were stationed in these brutal, high-altitude, cold-weather conditions following border tensions. It perfectly shows how his mind works. He sees a massive logistical and environmental problem, and he engineers a brilliant nature-based solution for it, which actually brings us perfectly to our next act.
This brings us to Part 3, the Wallet Power Campaign.
In 2020, Wangchuk's influence rapidly scaled from regional engineering to a full-blown nationwide movement. This was catalyzed by severe military skirmishes between India and China in the Galwan Valley. Responding to the crisis from up in the mountains, he presented the country with a very clear choice: wallet power versus bullet power. He argued that citizens shouldn't just sit back and rely on military escalation to resolve the conflict. Instead, he urged everyday Indians to use their economic choices. He advocated for a systematic boycott, dropping Chinese software in a week and hardware in a year, pushing for a massive shift toward domestic manufacturing and digital self-reliance.
This one appeal, urging people to use their wallet power and boycott Chinese products, sent an absolute shockwave across India. It received massive media coverage and was quickly amplified by huge celebrities and influencers. This was the moment it became clear that Wangchuk was no longer just a local hero in Ladakh. His voice now carried the gravity to shape the entire national discourse and mobilize millions of people.
And finally, Part 4, the battle for Ladakh.
Now we enter his most intense and politically charged era yet. The educator and engineer has fully transformed into a frontline climate warrior. You see, after Ladakh was made a union territory without its own legislature, Wangchuk and local leaders began raising serious alarms about the region's vulnerability. His core demands today are full statehood and inclusion in the 6th schedule of the Indian Constitution, which provides crucial protections for tribal populations. He points out that local nomads, like the famous Changtong raisers who produce incredible pashmina wool, are losing their prime pasture lands. He claims over 20,000 acres are currently threatened by massive industrial plants moving in from the south and border encroachments from the north. He's made it very clear he is not against solar energy or development, but he fiercely opposes any development that destroys local livelihoods and the region's delicate ecology.
When standard dialogue stalled, Wangchuk resorted to the ultimate nonviolent tool, the hunger strike. In January 2023, he attempted a fast at the freezing Kardang La Pass. Then, in March 2024, he completed a grueling 21-day climate fast on nothing but water and salt. The situation escalated so much that in September 2025, during a peaceful march to Delhi, he was arrested under the National Security Act, a highly controversial move that sparked massive nationwide debate. Yet by June 2026, he was fasting all over again, this time at Jantar Mantar in Delhi. His commitment is absolute. He is literally risking his own life to force the nation to pay attention.
But even throughout these extreme, grueling protests, his messaging has remained remarkably consistent. During his 21-day fast, he issued this incredibly neutral but firm appeal to the country's top leadership. He stated that he wanted to view them not just as politicians managing a short-term crisis, but as statesmen, demonstrating true farsightedness. His ultimate goal is to awaken the conscience of the leadership, to permanently safeguard Ladakh's fragile ecosystems and unique indigenous tribal cultures before they are irrevocably destroyed.
Because at the end of the day, this rugged, breathtaking, incredibly fragile mountainous terrain is what this entire battle is about. It's a stark reminder that in a place like this, even tiny changes in temperature, water flow, or land use can spell absolute disaster for communities that have thrived there for centuries. It's a very real physical reminder of what is actually at stake, far beyond the political negotiations happening in distant capital cities. So as you reflect on the evolution of Sonam Wangchuk, from a frustrated student trying to learn, to an ingenious engineer building ice in the desert, and finally to a climate warrior fasting in the bitter cold, I want to leave you with this question. How does a democracy truly balance the undeniable need for rapid industrial development with the absolute necessity of preserving fragile ecological regions and indigenous communities? Because frankly, how we answer that question in places like Ladakh won't just shape the Himalayas. It is the exact blueprint that will determine the future of our entire planet.